You know?
Yep.
Let's go.
Hey, what are we talking about tonight?
Too bold or not too bold?
Looking for a spot for tonight. This is very high. This is also very high. The sun is already behind the mountain, but it's very early. Can I have a look around? But should you use bulb or manual when doing tube light painting or any light painting in general? I use both on different occasions, and I'm going to go through various cases tonight. This doesn't work because of the glow here, and the mountain here is gonna look weird. To have darker area here, brighter here, and Kim somewhere left or right, I have no idea. This is just not working. And also we have a road over there, so we'll have light pollution later. I'm testing with 16 and 35 currently.
Okay.
And vertical? Yeah, again, I have the glow here. Okay, here we have something interesting. Like the texture on the ground is very cool.
If you go like up.
Ooh. Okay, we're gonna
Try
shoot right here.
I'll get ready.
Okay, now this thing about bulb or manual. So I've been shooting on bulb mode nearly forever, but for the past year, manual mode helped a lot with this kind of shots.
Okay.
Bulb mode is the way to go. If you're starting, just go on bulb, use a remote trigger, and you press the button the whole time you're doing the light painting. But once you're a bit more advanced, this is where the manual mode becomes very handy. That's super useful for different reasons. If you're far away from your camera, let's say you're using an 85mm lens, then it might be hard to keep the signal on when you're shooting. Like we tried with 300, 400, 800mm to do light painting. It just doesn't work with the bulb mode. So then you go on manual, you set the exposure time that works for the environment you're in. So let's say 2 or even 8, 13 seconds sometimes. So it's really helping when you're a long distance from your camera. But the main reason why I go in manual instead of bulb is during the night. So when I want to capture the stars, the Milky Way, then I go on manual. I set fixed exposure time of about 8 seconds. So this shot from yesterday was 8-second exposure, but the light painting was about 1 second. So the trick is when you're on bulb, you're turning on and off the exposure using the remote, but on manual, you're turning on and off the light only. So it's very similar, but instead of controlling manually the exposure, you're controlling manually the light. And when you're turning off the light, you have to hide yourself or
Get away.
run be careful if you do that. I've seen people trip on their face doing that. So in a very practical way, I always start in bold and I end in manual, because later at night I want to shoot with the stars. So this is the easy recipe. Go on bulb, then when it's getting dark, go on manual. That means that it's easier if you're able to turn off your flashlight on the fly also. So I'm using a pressure switch. I've been able to do that on the flashlight directly for a long time before I had that button, but you cannot do the same shapes if you don't have that pressure switch. It's just $10, so it's not a big investment, but it depends which flashlight you have. So it doesn't exist on all of them, but I have one for my night flashlight, the Netcore MT22C. Okay, it's getting dark. We have to start right now. Played only with this tube tonight, the Milky Orange tube, and we started with the sparklers. We were on bold mode the whole time with the sparklers. There's no other way. It's just like you really want precise timing to trigger your camera for the whole duration of your light painting shape. So you have to be on bold for these shots, as you cannot turn off the sparkler during the exposure. But as soon as it got too dark, we got rid of the sparklers. They are just too bright for the night time. And then we had a super nice framing with the stars on this direction, just beside the Milky Way. And then I went on manual, and I started with a 6-second exposure, then I moved on to 8 just to get a bit more stars. I switched from 6 to 8 when the sky started to fade out from blue, the last moment of the blue hour, and then it started to be like nearly pitch black. So then I move on to 8 seconds just to get more stars, but the light painting duration was always the same, about 1 or 2 seconds. I tried to go faster at some point because it started to wind. We know some tricks for the wind. There's a video about that somewhere. Actually, I had this Netcore right here, so I adjusted the power. I went a bit brighter with the dimmer on the side. I went brighter just to do shorter light painting time, but still with an 8-second exposure, just to expose for the background. There's also a video about that.
That's it.
Now we'll use the manual mode for the 2 reasons I mentioned earlier. We're gonna go at 85 millimeters, so we'll need that accuracy. Like, I will not be able to hold the button, and also I'm going to use a longer exposure to get the Milky Way. I might go up to 13 seconds. So as we have a long stretch here, I'm able to go at 85 and get you with the Milky Way in the background, out of focus. I hope so. We'll try that. We'll see. If you don't see any of those pictures, it's a fail. Okay. Four hours later, we finished on the same spot, nearly the same composition, but using the glow of the blue hour of the rising moon. That was beautiful. How many pictures we created tonight?
A few?
A few. 300. Okay, I think we have to sleep now. We shot. I think we shot much longer than usual, and that's because it's so comfortable. It's very warm here. The wind was on and off, so it was okay. And I also ended up the night on bulb. I went back to bulb because with the moon rising behind us, it's much brighter, so I was able to go back to bulb to get the exposure time based on the shape that I was creating. So
Full cycle.
full cycle. See you tomorrow.
Wow, avec la crème glacée.
Qu'importe ce que je dis, avec de la crème glacée.
Hey! Il n'y a pas grand chose qui est pas bon avec de la crème glacée. Peut-être comme du pain à
Des
l'ail.
choux de Bruxelles.